Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's public forum being held in the Council chambers for this Monday, the 12th of December at 6 p.m. This public forum is being audio recorded for administrative purposes. By speaking at the public forum, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this public forum, that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this public forum. Item 2, conflict of interest declarations received by the Chair. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor King. One conflict of interest declaration received for the public forum and for the subsequent council meeting from Councillor Edwards, a non-pecuniary less than significant conflict of interest. A brief description of the conflict is a perceived conflict as a nearby resident. The item relates to the first item on the public forum, which is the childcare centre development application, item 13.1 in the and PF3 in the public forum. The action that Councillor Edwards intends to take is to not participate in the discussion and leave the chamber.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. We'll note that Councillor Edwards is leaving the chamber. Item PF3, speakers. We have Sally Barella in relation to item 13.1, the development application 10.2022.3967.9.1, childcare centre, fencing and demolition of existing residents, 399 and 403 Macaulay Street, South Albury, does not support Council's preferred recommendation. And Sally Barella joins us via Zoom. Good evening, Sally.
Hi.
You're welcome to start your presentation, if you like.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, councillors. Thank you for this opportunity for me to address you today. My name is Sally and I'm a long-time local to Albury. I've been working locally since I was 15, and for the last 4 years I've been working full-time and studying. I'm currently away for my graduation in the Gold Coast. I've worked hard and invested where I love. I'm also a dual ratepayer. I now live in one of the few parts of South Albury that has no commercial development, that is purely residential, and as a result, it is quiet and neighbourly. The council is aware that childcare centres in residential areas cause distress by increasing noise and traffic for residents. I am a working woman and I support childcare centres and how they need to be in appropriate areas where children are free to run and shout and not to disturb residents or cause traffic chaos at peak times. However, residents don't want developments like this in the middle of quiet residential areas. For example, the recent case at Sackville Street where residents protested a much smaller development. Yet you treat this development, which will change these living standards of the residents, as just a normal building application with no additional notice or consultation with residents who would be affected. In fact, I received the notice by mail a week after it was sent with the long weekend in the middle, leaving a little over a week to discuss with residents this proposed development. I was studying for my final exams for my degree at the time, and this placed unfair distress on me. I believe the notice was woefully inadequate. I've received your reports and would like to address the few following points. 1, size and scope. The proposed development is in a residential area. This is not a community venture, for example, family daycare. This is a full for-profit business with 18 staff, over 100 children, and over 400 traffic movements per day. 2, traffic congestions in Macaulay Street. As you know, cars can only turn left heading north in Macaulay Street into Hume Street. There is a continuous green light from the corner of Young Street. It alternates green between traffic going west along Young Street and traffic turning into Hume Street from Young Street. Congested traffic will make it difficult for local residents who normally turn left will now have non-residents also turning left with longer waits, and traffic waiting will be backed up across driveways so the residents such as myself will find it difficult to exit our own driveways. The report notes that the street has 73% vacancy. This is a nice livable amount. Why should it be at 100%? For people who have carers or are disabled, this will mean that services will have trouble accessing their client. The proposed plan also assumes educators will use the bicycle parking. This last winter has been very cold and wet. It is unlikely these bicycle spots will be used, meaning educators will need to park on the street free. Parking in the proposed centre and movements of parents and children. I would like to challenge the report's findings regarding the ease of which children can be dropped off and collected at the centre. I would like to point out that children are unpredictable and safety must come first. There will be 11 places for the parents to park, and it is not feasible that parents can drive in, unbuckle the children, get them out of the car, get them safely past other entering and exiting vehicles, sign them in, then either reverse or use one of the turning areas without causing congestion at peak times. Parents will find it easier to park in the street and walk to the children to the centre. This will cause an increase in pedestrian traffic, cars potentially parked across driveways, and reduce parking in the street. 4. Waste. Thank you for offering a solution with increased waste collection. However, please acknowledge the noise from waste trucks, which will be more frequent. 5. Other concerns include noise, visual that it's out of character, that the rear residents would look over the fence of the childcare centre. We are here today as there were 28 objections from residents to this development. I also want the councillors here to think about where they live and what their response might have been if they received a notification for this development where they live. There clearly needs to be better town planning to allow for the development of childcare centres and not as an afterthought. Solutions if predictions are wrong, e.g. noise. We can't pull down the centre. We must be certain before you go ahead. In the reports, the officers have stated devaluation of property is not a planning consideration. Does this mean you do not care if the development devalues the ratepayers' properties? I was really distressed to read that. Does that reflect council's attitudes towards ratepayers' properties? The report also states that they are not required to follow precedent, referring to the Sackville Street Centre development. I'd like the councillors to know this development on Macaulay Street is over 4 times larger than the Sackville Street development. Accordingly, our concern should be 4 times greater. It would be a disappointing outcome if the councillors do not hold themselves to the same standard. If this was any other business, such as an electrical business, would you allow any other for-profit business in this otherwise quiet residential area to go ahead? The fact this is a childcare centre is of no relevance when it's for-profit, when the activity outcome of the street traffic and disruption would be the same. Residents are really concerned about this development. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. I think it's really important to have transparency. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Barella. Councillors, any questions for our public speaker? In that case, thank you very much, Ms. Barella, for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our
Thanks all.
public forum for this evening. We'll get Councillor Edwards to return before we commence our council meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting being held in our council chambers for this Monday, the 12th of December. We might start with the opening affirmation and acknowledgement of country. We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all. We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community. This council meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council meeting that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. CM3, conflict of interest declarations received by the Chair and disclosure of political donations. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor King. Reiterating one conflict of interest declaration from Councillor Edwards, a non-pecuniary less than significant conflict of interest as a perceived conflict as a nearby resident. The item relates to council meeting item 13.1, development application, childcare centre development. And the action Councillor Edwards will take is not participate and leave the chamber when the matter's discussed. In terms of disclosure of political donations, the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, section 10.4, requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific planning matters contained in the Act. Accordingly, the provisions of section 1.51 of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's report, detailing planning issues to be considered. The Local Government Act under section 375A requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the council. Planning decision means a decision made in the exercise of a function of council under the Act, including the decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan or a development contribution plan under that Act, but not including the making of an order under Division 9.3, Part 9 of that Act. Thank you, Mayor King.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. CM4, apologies. CM 4.1, apologies. There are no apologies for the meeting. CM 4.2, attendance by councillors at meeting by audio-visual link. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receive, note and accept the attendance by councillors Cameron and Glacken by audio-visual link Zoom for the meeting.
Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to second the motion.
Given it's procedural, happy to put the motion. Those for, those against, the motion is carried. Thanks, councillors. CM5, mayoral minute. There is no mayoral minute. CM6, action plans. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that the following action plans be received and noted. 1, actions complete for noting only. 2, actions awaiting response from external parties. 3, actions in progress. And 4, long-term issues, more than 3 months.
Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor
no, thank you, Mayor.
Bettridge? Any other councillors for or against? In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for, those against, the motion is carried. Thank you. CM7, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. CM7.1, minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 28th of November, 2022 at 6 p.m. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, 28th November 2022 at 6 p.m. be confirmed.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to second that motion.
Councillor Thurley, happy to put the motion. In that case, those for, those against, the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM8, reports from community forums. There are none. CM9, notices of motion, notices of rescission. There are none. CM10, presentations and deputations. There are none. CM11, reports or minutes of committees and working parties. CM11.1, minutes of the Albury Floodplain Risk Management Committee meeting held on Thursday, the 10th of November, 2022. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes recommendations of the Floodplain Risk Management Committee meeting held on Thursday, 10th November 2022.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
To second the motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Edwards, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I'd just like to acknowledge the work of council staff in supporting our residents who were unfortunately impacted by recent flooding, and thank our staff on the ground helping to clean up our riverfront. Council is continuing to work with the community, the SES and the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment to develop the Albury Local Flood Plan, implement the actions of the Albury Floodplain Risk Management Study and Plan, including upgrades to the South Albury Levee, stormwater management and sensible future development to protect our city from future flood events and the impacts of climate change.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Speaker 4, Councillor Bowen. Or an accidental, sorry. Any speakers for or against? In that case, happy to put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item CM 11.2, minutes of the local traffic committee meeting held on Thursday, the 17th of November, 2022. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes recommendations of the local traffic committee meeting held on Thursday, 17 November 2022.
Councillor Bowen.
I'll second that motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you. No, happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Any speakers for or against? Happy to put the motion, Councillor Glacken. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 11.3, Crime Prevention Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that the council receives, notes and accepts the minutes recommendations of the Crime Prevention Committee held on Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Bettridge.
Happy to second, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to that motion at all?
No, thank you.
Happy to put the motion. In that case, councillors, those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 11.4, minutes of the Mama Interim Acquisitions Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that the council receives, notes and accepts the minutes recommendations of the Interim Acquisitions Committee, Murray Art Museum, Albury Collection Committee meeting, which was held on Wednesday, the 2nd of November, 2022.
Councillor Bowen.
Happy to second that motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I'd like to encourage all people to visit Mama Art Museum. The acquisitions that they're taking on this year are pretty exceptional. So over the festive break, pop in and check out what's on offer at Mama.
Thank you,
Done a great
Councillor
job.
Callaghan. There are no speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. CM 11.5, minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 16th of November, 2022. Councillor Thurley.
Mayor King, I move that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes and recommendations of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on Wednesday, 16th of November, 2022.
Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. Happy to second that motion from Councillor Thurley.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just to note that in the meeting, the membership of the committee came up, but that will be covered in a matter later in the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. CM 12, documents for sealing. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories, authorised to affix a seal pursuant to Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2005. And the council seal and management of legal documents and advice procedure. A, deed of comfort between the State of New South Wales by its Department of Education, Albury Preschool Incorporated and Albury City Council. Ongoing occupancy of Albury Preschool Incorporated at council's property for a 10-year term, with the school accepting grant funding for facility upgrades to 730 Alma Street, Albury. B, Albury City lease to Edge Data Centres Proprietary Limited, a lot 44 Albury Airport. Lease of 12 years, 7 months plus option of 10 years, commencing the 1st of November 2022, in brackets FIL 20/03189.
There's one more we've added.
Oh,
on
sorry.
the screen, sorry.
And C, deed of assignment of lease between Albury City and Sharps and Taylors Proprietary Limited to Charshib Proprietary Limited in accordance with clause 39 brackets 2 of the lease and sublease of the assigned lease from Charshib Proprietary Limited to Sharps and Taylors Proprietary Limited pursuant to clause 39 brackets 2 of the lease brackets Riverdeck Cafe, Albury. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Betteridge. Councillor Bowen.
Happy to second councillor Bettridge's movement of minutes.
Thank you. Take it, it's procedural. Happy to put the motion. Councillors, those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Our next item, CM13 Officers' Reports for consideration. We do have Councillor Edwards has declared a conflict, so we will note that she is leaving the chamber for this item. So this item is CM 13.1 Development Application 10.2022.39679.1 Childcare Centre Fencing and Demolition of Existing Residences 399 and 403 Macaulay Street, South Albury. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council A receives the contents of this report and B grants consent to development application 10/2022-39679.1 for the demolition of existing residences, vegetation removal, construction of a centre-based childcare facility, signage and fencing on land described as Lot 3 on DP 784660 and Lot 1 on DP 151345 and situated at 399 and 403 Macaulay Street, subject to the conditions contained in the draft determination included at attachment 8 to this report.
Councillor Callaghan.
I'd like to second the motion. Thank you, Megan.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Briefly, yes, there have been a lot of submissions about this and they concentrated on a couple of issues, traffic and noise. In a couple of cases, comparisons were made with our decision on Sackville Street, which I believe are entirely inappropriate. Sackville Street was a tiny block and the scale is nothing like this one, but neither is the block as big as this. I think there are certainly some issues and council's consent conditions have taken these into consideration and they will deal with matters like construction, but also noise. A noise report and a traffic report were presented with the council documents. And I, in my opinion, believe that they adequately assess the likely impacts of this development. It was also noted that other such commercial developments would not be allowed. Well, that's correct, but childcare centres are allowed in R1 residential zones. Where else would they be put, given that they are for childcare? Other developments such as electrical business would not be allowed because they would fall into a different category than R1 residential. So all in all, I understand that people are concerned, but I believe that the traffic reports that we've been given show that this is a feasible development which will not cause significant problems in the area.
Thank you, councillor Thurley. Question, councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. I have a question to the relevant member of staff. After reading the acoustic report, the acoustic report happened on Wednesday the 2nd to the Saturday the 5th of March. I'm just wondering, so Saturday the 2nd of March, why an acoustic report would be required on a Saturday when the childcare centre only opens midweek?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor King. So it's not required to be undertaken on the Saturday, but is required to take a number of days into account. So normally those days into account would be a minimum of 3. So that would include the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. The fact that there was also addition of a Saturday was just, I guess, in essence, an additional day that didn't dilute the minimum requirements for the assessment report. They're not proposing to operate on a Saturday, as you indicated, but it didn't affect the outcomes of the acoustic report.
Follow up.
Thank you for that. Just and noting that in brackets in the report, I read that it said that report excluded any data of any days that had rain or winds above 5 metres per second, which is equivalent to 5 metres per second is 18 kilometres per hour. On Wednesday, the 2nd of March, there was 5 millimetres of rain. So I'd say that that date was excluded. Thursday, there was 0.2 millimetres of rain and winds of 15 kilometres per hour. So that would maybe be okay. Friday, 0 and calm. And Saturday, 2 millimetres of rain and winds of 31 kilometres per hour. So just wondering whether it looks like whether 0.2 millimetres of rain was, whether that's classed as a day of rain or whether there's only actually one day of actual data that's able to be recorded.
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor King. I would have to find out the precise criteria and get back to you on to precise criteria for eligibility. My initial impression is that 0.2 millimetres of rain would not be considered of substantial enough rain to impact upon noise measurements, but I can confirm that for council should they wish.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand the just how many days was actually taken. That was all, but thank you, Ta. So generally it's a minimum of around 3 days. Ta.
Thank you. Councillors, any speakers for or against? Or other questions? Is it Councillor Cameron? Sorry, it's a bit, oh yes, I can see you there. Councillor Cameron speaking against.
Thank you, Mayor King. I trust that everyone can hear me all right. I'm somewhat persuaded by the observation made by the presenter tonight, Ms. Brower. I think that where a business is a for-profit business, whether that is a childcare centre or whether that is any other business, it should be treated as a business. And as Councillor Thurley pointed out, we wouldn't put a commercial business of another type here. And I just don't think the location is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. I've given this a lot of consideration, and I note every time there is a childcare centre, there's invariably opposition from those living near it. People a bit further away generally support it because they know it's required in any community. But I think the council recommendation adequately covers off all the concerns I had. So I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Any other speakers for or against? Another question, Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King, and to the relevant member of staff. Just regarding traffic, just wanted to understand in the report, it says that Macaulay Street will have a daily vehicle traffic of 770. I didn't see how many it had. This is with the proposed development. I didn't see where it says how many they have without the proposed development. So can I have an update on how many vehicles is happening at Macaulay Street as of this moment?
Mr. Christie.
Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor King. I would have to get that data and provide that back to you, provide the precise number of vehicle movements in Macaulay Street at this point in time, if it's not already outlined in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. Any other questions or speakers for or against? Councillor Thurley, did you wish to sum up? There's no more speakers for or against, or no one summing up. We'll put it to a vote. We'll call a division for this, councillors. Those for: Councillor Glacken, Councillor Thurley, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor Bowen, Councillor King, Councillor Betteridge and Councillor Baker. Those against: Councillor Cameron. Thank you, councillors. The motion is carried. We'll await Councillor Edwards' return to the chamber. Next, we have item CM 13.2, Albury Waste Management Centre Material Recovery Facility Construction Contract number 20/02941. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council accepts the tender from Southern Cross Developers Proprietary Limited for contract number 20/02941. Albury Waste Management Centre Material Recovery Facility Construction for the lump sum amount of $5,906,867.18, including GST.
Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion at all?
Just to comment on the extreme accuracy of the quote, down to the last 18 cents.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Speaker for, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to endorse the contractor of Southern Cross Development for the construction of the material recovery facility. Albury City should be commended for the hard waste initiative as a leader in waste management, with 53% of all waste now diverted from landfill. Albury City has one of the highest waste diversion rates in the state of New South Wales. The construction of the material recovery facility, known as a MRF, will further support the good work of the waste management facility by reducing waste from landfill and construction and demolition projects, which will provide a myriad of benefits to the community and, most importantly, receiving and processing in excess of 20,000 tonnes of commercial, industrial construction and demolition waste each year. Gone are the days in which you can dig a big hole in the ground and bury our waste. We must take action and be accountable now and for future generations to come. The building of such infrastructure is a positive move in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Any speakers for or against? Councillor Thurley, do you wish to sum up?
Will take the opportunity to speak. I knew I had a second chance because I was the mover of the motion, and like to commend Councillor Callaghan on her words. It is a very important facility and we do lead the state, and we can only get better with this initiative. There is still a considerable amount of waste often from commercial and construction that can be diverted. And I note, for example, the recycling of plasterboard as a valuable product, gypsum, for use in soil conditioning. So this facility just adds to our ability to recycle and reduce buried waste. So it's a fantastic initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. We'll put the motion, councillors. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item CM 13.3, Nexus Stormwater Basin and Drainage Line, contract number 22/01749. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to place a motion that council accepts the tender from AP Delaney and Co Proprietary Limited for contract number 22/01749, Nexus Stormwater Basin and Drainage Line, the lump sum price of $295,075, including GST.
Thank you. Councillor Betteridge.
To second the motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Bowen, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I don't wish to speak to the motion any more than just saying that this is a great step moving forward into the area of our Nexus area. So looking forward to that.
Thank you, councillor Bowen. No speakers for or against or questions, councillors? In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.4, 16 Regional Cities Services Improvements Program, Albury. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that the council A, receive and note the proposed bus route improvements as part of the 16 Regional Cities Services Improvement Program, and B, support the actions and principle. Didn't ask. Sorry, Jenny. It's up there. I'll continue. B, support the actions and principles of towards Albury 2050 and move by creating a walkable city and responding to community demand for improved public transport services, and an amendment, which is in addition to C, review the effectiveness of the 16 Regional Cities Services Improvements Program in July 2023, including route destinations and bus service functionality.
Bus zone functionality?
Bus zone, yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. Happy to second that motion from Councillor Callaghan.
Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do, thank you. I would like to welcome the 16 Regional Cities Initiative from Transport for New South Wales for the benefit of Albury and the improvement it will bring to the community. There will be 300 new weekly bus services, a 50% increase on the existing networks, faster cross-border services through better interchange connections. Transport for New South Wales are estimating a 35-minute route from High Street, Wodonga through to Lavington Square, which is impressive. Stops at Albury Base Hospital, the train station and airport. Sunday services for all routes of Albury. Early morning services to allow better employment opportunities for those in our community. More Thurgoona services and a link through Kerr Road for the first time. I'd also like to welcome a review of these services over the next 6 months so we can get it right for our community. As we continue to grow, connectivity is essential. A review in 6 months will ensure alignment with the findings from the MOVE Integrated Transport Strategy, which is part of the Two Cities, One Community Action Plan that considers all forms of transport and will set the vision for the future and allow the community to build on the customer service experience of better public transport and accessibility for all. Thank you.
Councillor Bowen, speaker for.
Thank you. I speak for the motion. Went there today with Councillor Callaghan just to have a look at the site as well too, and check out some of the locations as well. But welcome the increase of bus services and also to ensure that we do review that going forward to make sure that it does hit the mark where we need it to. So I'll be voting for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Councillor Edwards, speaking for.
Thank you, Mayor King. Better public transport in Albury, Lavington and Thurgoona is well overdue, so I'm really excited about this program. And I also look forward to council installing bus stop infrastructure to provide shade for commuters.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other speakers for or against, councillors? Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to sum up?
No, thank you, Mayor
Happy
King.
to put the motion. In that case, councillors, those for, those against, the motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.5, Draft Albury Wodonga Sport and Recreation Strategy. Councillor Betteridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that Council A receives and endorses the draft Albury Wodonga Sport and Recreation Strategy. B, endorses the draft Albury Wodonga Sport and Recreation Strategy to be placed on public exhibition for a minimum of 28 days. And C, if no submissions are received through the public exhibition, adopts the draft Albury Wodonga Sport and Recreation Strategy as the final version.
Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Betteridge, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mayor. A very good and interesting report in the sport and recreation area. What do we have enough of? What are we lacking? I think it was a good overview of it, and I look forward to submissions from interested ratepayers or members of our community. And from that, we can either make alterations or, if there are none, adopt the strategy as it is. Thank you.
Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King, to the most relevant member of staff. In the document, it discussed a lack of surplus of tennis courts, but also a lack of soccer fields. I suppose, how do we anticipate building that capacity? Is that through grants or how can we manage that?
Mr. Costello.
Thanks very much for the question, and through you, Mayor King. It was identified, I guess, in the shortfall of the rectangular fields with some other facilities coming online, such as Barranduda Fields coming online will help with address that deficit from our Victorian side of the river. From our side of the fence over here in New South Wales, we've got Embarker Fields, which will also have some rectangular fields on it. And further down the track, the Thurgoona-Willinga precinct plan also will have some capacity for rectangular fields. So it's certainly anticipated that deficit with those projects that are currently online or in the pipeline would address that deficit in the longer term.
Any follow-ups? Yeah, one more question. Thank you. Just in regards to current facilities for sporting groups that may be wanting to write some grants for upcoming, is there a way in which we can notify some of those clubs about what the state are offering?
Mr. Costello.
Yeah, thanks for the question, and through you, Mayor King. Yeah, we have a recreation office that routinely communicates with our sporting groups on any emerging grants, and so we're routinely providing those notifications of any emerging grants and the opportunities for the clubs. But if there's certainly anything out there that you're aware of, we're certainly happy to pass that on as well. We have a contact list that we can keep regular communications up with those user groups.
Thank you.
Any other questions or speakers for or against, councillors? Councillor Betteridge, did you wish to sum up?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
All right. In that case, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.6, Thurgoona-Willinga Precinct Structure Plan Review and Project Overview. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council endorses the project scope and stakeholder engagement plan for the upcoming Thurgoona-Willinga Precinct Structure Plan Review.
Councillor Betteridge.
Through you, Mayor King, happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards, do you wish to open debate?
Yes, thank you. The last version of this plan was visionary and was developed together with the people of Thurgoona at the time. But I think we should acknowledge that in the past, this vision wasn't always taken into account when making decisions, and this has been to the detriment of Thurgoona and the people who live there. This is another chance to get it right, and I encourage new and old residents of Thurgoona to get involved in the community consultation for this plan and tell us what they want for the future of Thurgoona, and then hold us accountable to the new plan.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any speakers for or against, or questions? Councillor Edwards, did you wish to sum up or happy to put the motion? Okay, councillors, those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13.7, minor review of Albury City's Code of Conduct. Councillor Betteridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that Council A adopts the existing Code of Conduct and procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct, which have undergone a light review, and B, notes a more thorough review will be undertaken once the New South Wales Government's review of the Councillor Misconduct Framework is complete.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Betteridge, do you wish to speak to it at all?
No, thank you, Mayor King. I think it's fairly procedural, so I'm happy for it to go through.
Thank you. In that case, if there's no speakers for or against, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item CM 13.8, Albury City Rating Structure Review Discussion Paper and Public Exhibition Results. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council A acknowledges the submissions received as part of the public exhibition of the Albury City Rating Structure Review Discussion Paper, and B, adopts the publicly exhibited Albury City Rating Structure Review Discussion Paper. This will inform the annual review and update of Albury City Statement of Revenue Policy.
Seconder, councillors. Councillor Betteridge, thank you.
Thank you. Happy to second.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
Any speakers for or against? Is Councillor Callaghan there, or is that an accidental? Sorry, that's fine. In that case, councillors will put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 13.9, proposed naming of the Lavington Sports Ground Grandstand. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that council receives and notes the proposal to name the new section of the Lavington Sports Ground Grandstand, the CT Donnelly Stand, and undertake a public consultation process to determine stakeholder and community support for the proposed naming, and C, provide a further report to council with the outcome of the public consultation process.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Bowen, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, if I may, Mayor King, just to note that that CT Donnelly, Cole Donnelly was the founder of the Lavington Sports Club, and also a long-term 17-year president of the club, both football and also cricket as well too, and also was heavily involved in the cycling aspect of it, which also brought a lot of people to town regarding the Lavington wheel race way back in the 70s as well too. So I think it's a very fitting tribute and a great way to honour his work, and also to allow that stand to have a name, to allow it to be accessed, and also from a safety aspect of it too, where people know where they're sitting and know where to evacuate to if required.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Any speakers for or against? Are you happy to put the motion? Councillors, those for? Those against? The motion is carried. CM 13.10, Libraries and Museum Policy Review. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that council A, rescind the following policies and procedures and endorse that the following policies and procedures be removed from the Public Policy and Procedure Register. .1, Cultural Services Delivery Policy, Housebound Library Service Procedure, Interlibrary Loans Procedure, Library Borrowing Procedure, Library Membership Procedure. .2, Cultural Assets Development and Management Policy, Permanent Collections Acquisition and De-Acquisition Procedure. .3, Cultural Exhibition Policy, and B, endorse the following draft policies and procedures and place the following policies and procedures on public exhibition for 28 days. If no submissions are received, the following draft policies and procedures be adopted as final and placed on the Public Policy and Procedure Register. .1, Draft Library Services Delivery Policy, Draft Libraries Membership and Loans Procedure, Draft Libraries Collection Policy, Draft Museum and Social History Collection Policy, Draft Museum and Social History Acquisition and Deaccession Procedure, Draft Libraries and Museum Exhibition Policy. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry, it's a slight change on that.
All right.
This would be adopted as final.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy with that?
Endorse as final and place in the register.
Okay. To be endorsed as final and placed on the register. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bettridge. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Any speakers for or against? Councillor Bowen has a question.
Thank you, Mayor King. Just want to clarify, if I may, that it won't be going on 28 days. If I may, to the relevant member of staff as
Ms. Code.
We have gone and consulted. Excuse me. Thank you for the question, through you, Mayor King. Extensive consultation has occurred already, so we are now ready to place this on the Public Policy and Procedure Register if it is endorsed.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thanks, Mayor King. I'd just like to support the recommendation and say it's a timely change, and some of those policies we've been following from back 2009. So the roles and responsibilities of libraries are changing, and I think it's a really good move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Bettridge, did you wish to sum up at all? In that case, we'll put the motion, councillors. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. CM 13.11, Inland Waterways Drowning Prevention Strategy, Public Exhibition Results. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that the council receives and notes the submissions received during the public exhibition of the Inland Waterways Drowning Prevention Strategy 2022 to 2027 and B, adopts the Inland Waterways Drowning Prevention Strategy 2022 to 2027.
Councillor Thurley.
Second motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Do. Thank you, Mayor King. When I speak to the motion, I'm mindful of the people's lives who have been lost or those who have been impacted by drowning, including the families and friends who have experienced loss or long-term injury of a loved one. Data from the New South Wales Life Saving National Drowning Report for 2022, capturing the financial year from the 1st of July 2021 to the 30th of June 2022, reports that 339 people lost their life to drowning in New South Wales. And it is estimated a further 686 experienced non-fatal drowning experiences, resulting in hospitalisation. There has been an increase in the past year of 114 deaths, up 48% on the previous year and up 65% over the past 10 years. Recreational swimming remains the lead activity prior to drowning, and drowning is preventable. It is possible that there be zero drownings with a holistic inland water drowning safety strategy. When I think about what motivates me as a councillor, it's my responsibility to make decisions in the best interests of our community. It's a duty of care. It is essential that we investigate and action strategies to make people safe around inland waterways. As regional areas continue to grow, welcoming and connecting migrant and refugee people with lifestyle and employment opportunities that enhance and support a productive LGA. It is imperative that we reduce the risk of drownings by adopting the motion of a holistic inland water safety strategy that provide measures to keep people safe. On Christmas Day in 2021, a vivacious young man, Jules, a refugee to our community, gainfully employed at Coles, studying automotive to become a mechanic. He was in year 11 studying towards his year 12 certificate, and he should have graduated high school a few weeks ago. He sadly drowned in the Murray River, cooling off with his friends and family. These statistics I talk of are real people, and the impacts are profound and long-lasting. Local governments are in a position to play a leading role in collaborating with external agencies and utilising its own resources to drive the implementation of water safety. Our duty of care is to make sure there are no more drownings. I commend the diligent work of the ACC staff, in particular Simona Code and her team, in Community in Place on their collaboration with community in reaching a comprehensive inland water drowning safety strategy, which I'll be endorsing this evening. So thanks, Simona.
I'd just like to add to those remarks in that we now have a significant number of people from other cultures and communities where swimming is not something that came naturally to them. So I'm talking about Bhutanese, Congolese, Sudanese, and more recently, even people from Lebanon. And this strategy is something that's absolutely critical to these communities so that they are aware of the dangers, but also can undertake training and education to make them safer. It's critical that we do it. We've already had too many drownings in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. And I'm supporting the recommendation as well, but I would also like to add that it's imperative that we continue with teaching young people to swim. I note that with COVID over the last 2 years, a lot of those swimming lessons that would have happened to young people have been missed, and we might be behind the 8 ball in where people in our community have been with their swimming, and we've just got to keep doing that as well as the other parts of this motion. It's a whole of life process, being able to understand the water, dams, the river, pools, all of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Speaker 4, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. More than happy to support this strategy. I'm very excited about the trial of a free pool entry for high-risk days. And I hope we don't ever have a tragedy over a summer like we have over the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to sum up?
Yes, I'd just like, I suppose, our community to also heed the warnings that ACC have been putting out on their social media networks, is just to stay away from spaces that are cordoned off, especially down at Noriel Park at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. We will put the motion. Councillors, those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 13.12, Audit Risk and Improvement Committee Independent Member Contract Extension. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council extend existing Independent Audit Risk and Improvement Committee ARIC members' contracts due to expire on the 31st of December 2022 by the following terms, should they accept. A, Chris Gillard, 3-year extension, which would expire on the 31st of December 2025. B, Caroline Rosetta Walsh, 3-year extension, which would expire on the 31st of December 2025. And C, Stephen Coates, 4-year extension, which would expire on the 31st of December 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. Happy to second that motion.
Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I mean, we've got a well-functioning Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, and what we don't want is all of the members to go off the committee at the one time. So this staggers the retirement of the members so far on the committee and make sure we get some continuity.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Any speakers for or against? Happy to put the motion, Councillor Thurley. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 14, Officers' Reports for Noting. CM 14.1, 2022-23 Development Statistics for the September quarter. Councillor Edwards.
I move that council receives and notes the information in the September Quarterly Development Statistics Report for 2022.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Edwards, did you wish to speak? Happy procedural? In that case, we'll put the motion unless there's any comments or speakers for or against. We'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 14.2, Albury Economic Indicators. Councillor Bettridge, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that council receives and notes the Albury Economic Indicators Report for November 2022.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
I'll second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Happy to speak or happy to?
I'm happy to have the motion put. Thank you,
motion
Mayor King.
put. No other speakers for or against. We'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 14.3, Annual Code of Conduct Statistics Report to the Office of Local Government. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receives and notes the statistics on code of conduct complaints about councillors and the Chief Executive Officer.
Councillor Bowen.
Happy to second that motion, Mayor King.
Councillor Thurley, would you wish to speak or happy to put the motion?
In reading the report, it's obviously we've all been pretty good, well behaved.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. On that note, we might put the motion. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM 14.4, Natural Burials. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I did propose an alternative motion. Is that the one on the board?
Amended one.
Thank you. I move that Council A receives and notes the contents of the report, and B, continue to monitor the demand for other types of burials in the Albury LGA, including natural burials, and develop a GMGC business plan by 30 June 2023 to promote greater understanding, awareness and education to the community and funeral industry of burial choices.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Bowen.
Happy to second that motion too, Mayor King. Thank you.
Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do. I asked for this report just a short while ago, and we have an extremely comprehensive report, and I congratulate the author of the report. It thoroughly examines the issues, and while it does say that there is not a significant demand for these other choices, it also indicates that our particular Glen Morris Gardens is not particularly suitable to natural burials because of the soil type and so on. However, I've added this second part because I believe that the community should be made aware of what other options are available. It's not necessarily go to a funeral director and you get whatever you're told. There are choices, and our staff are well able to provide further offerings and further explanation of what's possible and not. And I would really encourage people, if they're having to face these issues, that they talk to our staff as well as funeral directors. There are options available.
Thank you, councillor. Speaker 4, councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'm really pleased that Councillor Thurley has added that part B into it. I was really interested in reading the report, and a lot of those options or what people are doing in different places I wasn't aware of. And I think it's very important to have choices and the ability to understand that there are other things out there. And if we could in the future offer some of those other types of burials, it would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Baker. Speaker 4, councillor Edwards.
I'd also like to thank Councillor Thurley for asking this report to be brought to us. I agree that it's probably an awareness thing rather than a demand. I think if the people were aware that there might be more demand, you certainly had me at wicker coffin. I don't know, I'd like to have one of those. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Edwards. If there are no more speakers for or against, councillor Thurley, did you wish to add further? Happy to put the motion, councillors. Those for? Those against? The motion is carried. CM 15, delegates' reports for noting. There are none. CM 16, notice of urgent business. I just had one quick item. I was fortunate, like many councillors, to attend some of the school presentations and graduations. I went to the Xavier High School final assembly for the year and wanted to share some achievements in particular. Our Albury City Youth Mayor, Lockie Carpenter, and our former Albury City Youth Deputy Mayor, Isaac Street, both received significant awards at the final assembly for the year at Xavier High last week. Lockie won the John Exton Memorial Award, and that is in honour of a long-standing former staff member. And this award is given to a student who demonstrates a devoted interest and ability in the humanities area and has exceptional school spirit and skills. And Isaac won the Justin Clancy Citizenship Award for demonstrating a positive attitude in caring for others and putting the wider Albury community at the forefront of his actions and leadership. Both Lockie and Isaac also received what's called the 5 Cs Award, and these are awarded to students who embody the school's 5 Cs in all that they do, and that is being challenged, compassionate, collaborative, courageous, and Christ-like. And Lockie also received a Gold Rosa Crest. Now, this is the most significant academic award presented to students at Xavier, and recognises students who have maintained 5 years of high academic achievement in at least 3 subject areas. And there have also been several Albury City Citizenship Awards presented, and there are still more to come. Some schools are yet to have their presentations. Thank you for displaying community, academic, kindness and leadership qualities to those students who receive those awards. I'm very proud of our young students in this city. And as this is our last meeting for the year, I'd like to thank our fellow councillors and also our Albury City staff and team for everything they do, particularly in what's been a trying year with lots of challenges that our community has been confronted with this year. It's been a mighty effort to be there to assist our community where we can. So on behalf of our community, we wish everyone a safe and happy Christmas and New Year. Thank you. I declare the meeting closed at 7:04 p.m.